Hey, Scott here, Scotty's Animals. Right now I want to cover some common guinea pig illnesses. People message me every day, all the time, and they say, oh, there's something on my guinea pig's nose, what could that possibly be? Or I'm hearing some weird breathing sounds, or there's a lump on the back of my guinea pig. So I'm going to go through some of the most common guinea pig illnesses, what you can do about it if there is some kind of an over-the-counter or home remedy. But I also want to stress that it is important to have a vet that you trust. You'd be surprised how many people say that they have guinea pigs, but they live in a place where there's no vets that are good with guinea pigs. That seems like a paradox where, you know, they're selling guinea pigs, but there's no one that knows anything about them. It is up to you. If you know that that's your situation, it's up to you to figure out there's got to be a vet somewhere that knows something. And also to reach out to communities like the LA Guinea Pig Rescue. There's tons of Facebook groups, Instagram pages, all sorts of social media groups. Reddit has a great guinea pig group that I'm a member of. So there's a lot of ways to get information. And then if your vet just needs, you know, if you have a vet that can prescribe antibiotics and various medicines, you know, maybe you come into them with the literature or saying like, this is probably what I think it is. But let's go through it. But I just want to stress that it's very important that you have a vet that you trust, that you know of a vet, and that you're familiar with these common illnesses before they happen, okay? There's no excuse in a world where all of the information that you'd ever want is right just on the other side of your fingertips, right? With the type of search and all the information available online, there's no excuses. So let's just go through it. Okay, number one, well, I'm not gonna go in any specific order, ringworm. Ringworm is a crusty, scabby fungus that usually appears on the nose, on the ears, sometimes on the back, but it is usually an isolated fungus. Over time it can spread throughout the body, but it's powdery and white or crusty. Sometimes there's scabs because the guinea pigs itch and they break open their skin and cause scabs. It looks somewhat similar to mange mites, which is also scabies, but the difference is with scabies and mange, you usually have baldness, generally more overall thinning of the hair, and much more serious itching that usually can lead to seizure, and then possible stroke and heart attack. But the ringworm can be cured with anti-fungal shampoo such as Head and Shoulders or a generic version, and antifungal cream like tolnaftate or other antifungal creams with a zinc ingredient. So you can find those over the counter in any drugstore or even the dollar store. Mange mites, however, is a parasite. They're parasitic bugs burrowing under the skin, and that needs to be treated with ivermectin. Some people talk about using Revolution, but there's an ivermectin wormer paste or liquid drops on the ear. There's a couple different ways that different dosings for ivermectin, so make sure that you're using the appropriate dose for the appropriate type of ivermectin you have. For the wormer paste, it's just like a pea-sized amount once a week for 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, and with the ivermectin, it's just 2 drops on the ear, and you can do that 2 or 3 times. And as a maintenance, you'd want to do that once or twice a year or every 3 or 4 months. But this is not meant to be a video where I'm going through and telling you everything about every illness or we'll be here forever. I want to create a little, just give you a little background in each of these so that you can then research them if you think that that's what you might be dealing with. So the next common illness would be upper respiratory infection, commonly called a URI, it's an abbreviation, and those signs and symptoms are runny eyes or labored breathing or different breathing sounds, crinkly sounds, or just breathing issues. Crusty eyes, crusty nose, a lack of energy, being very lethargic, a change in behavior. So if you start to see those kinds of symptoms, then that means there's most likely a respiratory infection, which is a bacterial infection, and given antibiotics, it can be treated and cleared up. But if left untreated, it can be fatal. And it's one of those illnesses where you say, it's not an acute symptom, so they're just not acting like themselves, maybe they just have a cold. You should never delay when your guinea pig is acting not like themselves, because they do not stay sick for very long. I cannot stress this enough. Guinea pigs do not harbor illnesses for months and months. They either succumb to those illnesses or they get better. So, and if for some reason they are remaining sick for that amount of time, it's prolonged suffering. So you really need to act quickly in the best interest to get them on the way to recovery, because they're our family, and that's what we do for the ones we love. Okay, so moving on. If you are noticing breathing sounds, it might not be a respiratory issue. It might actually be a heart condition, because an enlarged heart can actually cause pressure on the lungs and force the lungs to be filled up with fluid, and that can cause breathing issues that sound similar to a URI, and also have a similar lethargic symptoms of lack of energy and that kind of a thing. And really, both of these you would want to go to a vet immediately if you saw these symptoms, because the vet can either prescribe antibiotics or take an x-ray, and you can find out what's actually going on with your pet, and you can get them on the road to recovery. Heart conditions can be treated. Tito, who is my poster baby for the Red Eyes Rock t-shirt, he had a heart condition, and he was diagnosed, and he lived for a long 5 years with heart medicine, and he did just great. His heart was enlarged when I first rescued him, and after x-rays years later, his heart had gone back down to a normal size with the heart medicine. So, and he was just one of the sweetest pigs you could ever know, and actually giving him medicine increased our bond, not just him with me, but me with him. So taking care of a sick animal may sound like a chore, but really it might be one of the most sweetest things you've ever done in your life. So let's move on. Another common symptom or another common illness is that we see a lot at the rescue are various lumps, bumps, abscesses, tumors, and cysts. So what are these? If you feel a bump or a lump, depending on where it is and the quality of it, is whether or not it's an abscess or a cyst or a tumor, and whether or not it needs to be operated on, or whether it can be drained. Sometimes these are just like big overgrown pimples, and you can just squeeze it out, and then with a little antibiotic ointment, they're fine. But some of these, like a CL, which is a lump under the neck, that can cause strangles. The bottom line with lumps is you want to get them checked out by a vet. There is a great playlist that Saskia has at the LA Guinea Pig Rescue YouTube channel, so I'll put a link to that. But I definitely think that there's certain things where you should just go to a vet, and just because you have the playlist and you can get it identified, you're still going to want to get it treated by a professional. So lumps, for the most part, are something you're going to want to really get checked out by a vet, because you're probably going to want the antibiotics, or it's something that you might be too squeamish to do as far as popping or removing it. But I wouldn't take a chance. I wouldn't risk that. So let's move on. A lot of times people come in and they tell us anecdotally, oh, their guinea pig had a ear infection, and now he has a head tilt, or that he just was sick and now he has a head tilt. It's been our experience at the Los Angeles Guinea Pig Rescue that ear infections are extremely rare in guinea pigs, but what is more often is that guinea pigs are just actually blind. So when their heads are tilting like that, and I can show you Pipsqueak right here. Come here, Pippy. Come here, Pippy. Here's Pipsqueak. He is blind, so you can see his head tilt. He is blind. He never had an ear infection. He has always, since I've known him, just been like this. And he just can't see very well, if at all. He may have some sensitivity to light. But An ear infection, if there is such a thing, I did have a guinea pig once that was showing signs of vertigo. He was all dizzy, he was kind of shaking his head like this, and I went to the vet, and he did get eardrops, and I think he was also on a course of antibiotics, and he got better, and his head tilt or whatever his vertigo symptoms went away. But it wasn't like he had a head tilt like this that one day healed itself. Okay? Put this light back up here. All right, that's better. What else? So that's blindness, ear infections, and vertigo. It's usually a head tilt means they're just blind, don't have an ear infection. Let's move on. Stroke. Okay. Let's move on to heat stroke and just a regular stroke. Guinea pigs are very susceptible to heat. So if they are left out in direct sunlight or in hot weather for too long, they can develop heat stroke or heat exhaustion and heat stroke, and that can lead to death. So generally you will see that they get very lethargic, they can't pant, they can't sweat, they end up just overheating, and they will go into shock and die. That's not the same as a regular stroke, but I wanted to mention that sometimes guinea pigs have strokes. If they're older, they might just naturally have a stroke. And that might be kind of the same symptoms as a person. So they, their mobility may decrease, or they might just be showing some strange neurological signs that they weren't displaying before. And I would really urge, in a situation like that, you should go to a vet. You don't necessarily need an emergency vet visit. If you notice that something has happened to your guinea pig, take them at the nearest time that you can and get them evaluated if there's not an active emergency happening. But it's really important to, as I said, have a relationship with a vet and take your piggies in if there's something that you don't understand that's happening. So another common guinea pig illness is scurvy, and scurvy is from a lack of vitamin C. Guinea pigs, just like people, we can't make our own vitamin C. We need vitamin C supplemented through our diet, and if we don't get enough vitamin C, the symptoms of scurvy can be joint inflammation, stunted growth when you're younger, and limited mobility, joint pain, and even for guinea pigs, the inability to move their back legs. There have been a lot of guinea pigs that we've seen at the rescue that have come in seemingly paralyzed, and with a nice consistent regimen of vitamin C regained the mobility in their legs and the flexibility in their joints. So scurvy is something that is somewhat common, and vitamin C is important, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. They definitely need adequate amounts of vitamin C. That's why I love Child Life liquid vitamin C. I've got a link to that on my website, and we recommend this and have this at the LA Guinea Pig Rescue. You just fill a syringe up, and one syringe full per pig per day gives you 50 milligrams of vitamin C. Babies could have half of that, but between 30 and 50 milligrams of vitamin C is adequate for a guinea pig. So now let's talk about stones and urinary issues. Bladder stones, kidney stones, and various urinary issues like sludge and those kinds of things. Seeing pee with white cloudiness in it, that may be a sign of concern. You can't really know if your guinea pig has a stone without an x-ray, from what I understand, but it's not necessarily something that you should be overly concerned with, except to say that limiting the amount of calcium that guinea pigs have in their diet has been something that traditionally we've recommended. We recommend veggies that aren't crazy high in calcium, like spinach. We recommend no or little spinach, and romaine lettuce has a lot of calcium, so we prefer red or green leaf lettuce, things like that. Alfalfa also has more calcium than, say, Timothy hay, so it had been something that we were staying away from. But over the years, and with new types of food coming out like Sherwood, which is a alfalfa-based pellet with no fillers, we've seen a lot of positive results from that. So if you are experiencing or worried about stones or urinary issues, look into the diet, the types of foods that you're giving, and also the pellets, and maybe look into Sherwood. Skinny Pigs 1 has just completed about a year of being on the Sherwood with lots of excellent results that she has quantified and been able to explain. So check out Skinny Pigs 1, check out her channel, and look up her Sherwood food videos. So along that line, she's also had, this is Abby from Skinny Pigs 1, has had a lot of success with bloat issues by changing the diet. Bloat is when your guinea pig will puff up and they're filled with gas. It's not that common, but it is fairly common. You'll come home and your piggies will be hiding in somewhere in a corner, and when they would normally come out and rush you for food, they're not. And when you pick them up, their belly is just hollow and inflated. Luckily, there is a medicine or an over-the-counter solution called Little Remedies gas drops, and it's just it's like a silicone, it's a natural ingredient that gets rid of the gas. So it's something important to have on hand. And while I'm talking about Skinny Pigs 1, she let me put her emergency kit video on my homepage, Scotty's Animals. So you can just go there and you can see how she sets up her emergency kit, her medical kit for her piggies, and also then you'll have a link to all of her videos. So please do that. Please think about setting up an emergency kit or some kind of a medical kit for your piggies, because you never know when they might start showing signs of any of these common illnesses. So this video ran a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but that's because I tacked on a couple more common illnesses and I wanted to cover them as much as I could in as best depth, as much depth as I feel I can, given that this is a survey of all of these illnesses. So please, if you notice any of the signs of these illnesses, go and do your research, connect with a vet before these illnesses show themselves. But if you do see any signs of these illnesses, do the research and get your piggies the help that they need, and don't wait, because when it comes to getting your piggies on the road to recovery, time is definitely of the essence. So thank you very much for sitting down and watching this video. It means that you're planning for the future, you care about your piggies, and that is what we are all about here. So thank you so much for watching this video. See you next time.